Alright guys, today we're going to make an alpha box, basically a box that you can drag around and it'll show through to the background. So let's go ahead and do that. So the first thing that we need to do is we're going to start our code right here. Well, let's go to the code. Alright, we're going to start the code. Oops, that's the whole code. Alright, here's the start of the code, /head, so body, close the body, close the HTML. Alright, so what we need to do to start is we want to give ourselves a background that we can look at. I got this one here, which is great, so we're going to go ahead and apply that with some CSS. So we're going to do style type equals text/CSS, close that, and we're going to do body, and we're going to say background image URL, quote that, which is, I don't actually have it sitting there. Awesome. I'm going to pull it from here. Bear with me. Didn't really prepare for that. Okay, that. Save, and let's minimize that so you don't see that anymore. Okay, refresh. Okay, here's our background. Okay, we're going to be able to see through this. So now let's go ahead and build our box. So we're going to have a div that I'll call box. Okay, and inside the div we're going to have a title. So div ID equals title bar. Okay, and we're just going to say this is the title. Okay, then we're going to have div with some text, so some text. So there's no styling on it, so you're not going to really see much, but there's what we're starting with. Okay, so now we need to add the rest of the style. So let's go ahead and style the box itself. Okay, so pound box. So the box is going to be position absolute. Okay, it's going to be, position absolute. It's going to be top 0 pixel, left 0 pixel. We might make it so we can drag this around. We're going to make the width 375 pixels. We're going to add a border, okay? Because when the whole thing goes dark, we want the border to still show up, right? So border 1 pixel solid black. And then we're going to give a z-index of really high, so it floats over top of everything. We're going to give it a standard font size of 10 pixels, a font family of Verdana. We're also going to give a font weight of bold, because when something's this small it looks good bold. We're also going to give it a color of yellow. Okay, so then we're going to need to style each div. So we're going to do pound box and then div, and then the arrow here is for directly first descendant div. So if I had divs inside of here, then they wouldn't be affected by what I'm about to do. So we're going to give these a height of 14 pixels. We're going to give them all a border, which is 1 pixel solid, and then 3A, 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 and then border bottom 1 pixel solid black. And that's going to give us that, which you can't see. So let's give that a background color. So background color pound 15, 15, 15. Okay, and then we need to give a padding of 12 pixel to give it some extra space. And then we're going to center everything, so text align center. And then we're going to give it an overflow hidden, just in case there are floating elements inside of here. And refresh. Okay, much better. We got ourselves a box looking thing. Now I really want these rows to alternate, so to do that we actually do a cool CSS trick called box div colon nth child 2n plus 3, which if you know math, that's going to give you even numbers. And we're going to change that background to 262626, and that will give you that effect. Okay, now this one's not affected because it's a different div, and that's okay. So to affect that div, we're going to say title bar, and we're going to set the color of that one to orange. Now you have to do important here, because this actually becomes more important than this. So this you need to tell it to be more important. And then we're going to give this a padding of 2 pixel, again important, because it needs to be overridden. Okay, so there's our box. So what we want to do here is actually make it draggable. So let's go get some jQuery UI. That's all fine. We're gonna leave draggable, and I'm also gonna leave slider. Okay. If you already have jQuery UI, great. Download. Okay, well, whatever, it's failing. I already have it now pulled in. Okay, so here's the UI.js script and the CSS script. So then I'm going to actually pull in, so now I'm going to actually start writing some script, which I'll do down here. Okay, so script. Okay, let's open a document.ready, like that. First thing we want to do is grab our box, and we want to make our box draggable. So draggable, and we want to actually make it draggable by the handle, by the top bar. So we actually pass in a handle colon and title bars is the name of the element. Title bar, close bracket parenthesis, that. So then we should have refresh. I should be able to drag this around. So let's take a look at why that isn't working. Hopefully it's quick. jQuery is not defined because I didn't include the jQuery source. So that needs to be first. jQuery source. And I feel like I'm going to run out of time. Let's hope that doesn't happen. Okay. There we go. I got a box. I can move it around. Great. So now I want to make a slider inside this first div that's going to change the opacity. So to do that, I'm going to make a new div and call it slider. Okay. So I've made a new div and I've called it slider. And right now it does nothing, but in a second it'll do a lot. So what we're going to do is in here, we're going to make the slider a dot slider, and we're going to be passing in a lot of parameters in a second. So let's just make sure that's working. So here's that. It's got some errors because the rest of that's not working. Okay, so this div wasn't closed all the way. You can't close the div that way. You got to actually close the div. Alright, there we go. So there's that and our slider. So now what we need to do is in our slider component right here, we want to set our value to 100 because we're starting out full. We want to set our min to 0. We want to set our max to 100. We want to set our range to min, which all it does is make it shows the actual bar as it drags instead of just dragging. We want to set animate to true because it's really cool. And then we need to actually have a function called slide colon function. Before I do that, let me show you what this looks like. Okay, see, it starts here and it's got that bar now, and it's actually going from 0 to 100. So what we need to do here is really quickly, I'm going to paste this in because I'm not going to have time to actually go through it all because I'm running out here. So basically we're getting the opacity by saying this dot slider value, which is the 0 to 100, and then we're going to say times that 0.01, so that gives us an opacity level. Then what we're going to do is we're going to get the box and gets each div of the box and set it to an RBGA of these 21s. I got that 21 by using the digital color meter, and I hovered over here. So these are 38s and these are 21s. Okay, so these are 21s, and then the last thing is the opacity, which I got from the slider, and then this is the opacity of this. I'm doing them both because they both need to be separate. So I save that and refresh it, move this out to the center, and show you that now it actually will be completely transparent and still keep the borders and all that cool stuff. And I could change the opacity just like this, and that animate does this kind of cool thing. And then if I have a quick second, this might have to be cut out. What I can do is do a really cool box shadow on the div itself, and then I can do a really cool text shadow on all the text, and that'll make it stand out a lot more. So now when I do it and I change the opacity, you can see how much cooler it looks with all those effects.